You have to be really intentional about putting a team together.
Crawled out of the pile and just started screaming.
How good is Joey Bosa?
Herbert, rolling, looking, throwing, end zone, touchdown. It's intercepted. Derwin James. Derwin was there.
You got to be on a mission every day in the NFL. But even more than that, you got to be on a mission together.
Great hands, Keenan Allen.
The Los Angeles Chargers select Rashawn Slater.
Asante Samuel Jr.
Stop! Oh, I'm stopping y'all boys. I can't catch it.
Intercepted. Picked up by Michael Davis.
Explosion, explosiveness from Eckler.
There's Murphy. Boy, he blew that up, didn't he?
It is picked off. Nasir Adderley.
50-50 ball is 100%.
Mike Williams.
Ojena Nwosu. And that will end it.
Time to bolt up.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LA Football Network. Today's show, of course, being brought to you by Charger Bolt Family, Brewery X in Anaheim, and UFC Fit in Temecula. Dan, deep rest now. It's Friday. It's Friday. We all had our emotional day earlier this week. We all had to get through the emotional struggle that was last Sunday with the loss to the Cowboys.
That sucked.
As you promptly put up on Twitter, we are on to Kansas City. And no better way to do that than to bring in one of the experts who covers the Chiefs, Mr. Nate Taylor, who covers the Kansas City Chiefs from The Athletic. Very fortunate to have him join the show today. So we're just going to get right into this. Here is Dan Wolkenstein's interview earlier today with Mr. Nate Taylor from The Athletic. Take it away.
For those watching or listening to the show for the first time, welcome and thank you for joining us. And for those returning and loyal Chargers Unleashed subscribers, we appreciate your continued support. Happy Friday. We figured we'd celebrate Friday and it being Chiefs week by bringing on a special guest to help us get hyped and prepared for the Sunday's matchup versus Mahomes and the Chiefs. Chiefs writer and reporter for The Athletic, been covering the team since 2018. You can find him and his work at The Athletic and on Twitter at by Nate Taylor. We're fortunate to be joined by The Athletic's Nate Taylor. Nate, welcome to Chargers Unleashed. Excited to have you on the show. Happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday. Thank you for having me, Dan. When the schedule came out, this was one of the games that you sort of circle on your calendar because you think it's going to be a close, entertaining game. So I'm really looking forward to kickoff. Knowing that this is a bubbling up rivalry between the Chargers and the Chiefs.
It is. And we're going to get to talking all kinds of stuff. We'll go into kind of the matchup between these coaches with Brandon Staley and Andy Reid. Obviously, key matchup with some of the players, kind of what to expect on Sunday, how the Chiefs look so far this year. But I have to ask, before we get into it, my co-host, Jake Hefner, he has been on my case because I have been so late to the game with all these Marvel movies. And I'm currently on Phase 3, I think I'm on, I think I just finished Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I saw on your byline, Sam Salary called me the Black Peter Parker. I have to ask, please tell us the story of Black Peter Parker.
Look, I just appreciate that this is getting any level of attention on my Twitter bio, account. But yeah, it's a old story from a good friend of mine from high school. Me and Sam used to be in band together. And so this was around either my junior or senior year of high school. I graduated in 2006. So I am from Kansas City. This is my hometown. And when I was in band, whether it was pep band, jazz band, me and Sam were just kind of in the same, group of friends. But the one thing that Sam always noticed was that I was pretty energetic. I could, have, somewhat of good talents in different, avenues. I played sports growing up in high school. I played on the soccer team, football team, and I was mostly known for being a track and field sort of sprinter, high jumper. But I found my true love for what I do now in high school as well. And so my English teacher, Miss Karen Black, was my English and yearbook and newspaper teacher. So she had me in 3 classes, throughout, the latter portion of my high school. And Sam was just really, it's always great when friends riff on you and they say something that is both funny and like very honest. And so, yeah, I'd be the guy that was like, A, either playing sports, B, doing some, Friday night jazz band at the basketball game or some concert, playing the saxophone, or I'd be taking pictures for the yearbook and writing, for the school newspaper. And Sam, in one of his great moments, was just like, Nate, you're like the black Peter Parker. I just always remember him sort of saying that. And of course it makes me laugh. And I'm just like, wow, that is a astute observation, sir. And since then it's only sort of grown from there. So I definitely wanted to give him a shout out because he's still around and he's from Kansas City as well. He's gone on to do acting. So yeah, it's fun to, when anybody tries to get to know you or sees you on Twitter for the first time, I hope that's an intro that will at least intrigue people or like you want to get to know more, Dan. But yeah, I was just a guy that was taking photographs and writing about, the school homecoming, what the basketball team was doing.
I gotcha.
And I'm still a reporter. I'm still doing this weird thing, which is like write about football and people caring about it immensely and me being grateful for it. And what a better place to do it than not at The Athletic, which is also, a great website. And I hope your listeners will look into us because my guy Daniel Popper covers the Chargers for The Athletic, and he does a fantastic job. But yeah, it's probably the best nickname that I've ever been given. And so shout out to Sam.
I need one of those nicknames. I gotta tell you, I don't have anything even close to Spider-Man or Peter Parker. So good on you. And yes, Daniel Popper is highly renowned here in Chargers fandom. Hops with Pops. I don't know if you've heard about that, but he does a thing after hours. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. But yeah, so look, huge matchup this Sunday. How are you feeling about the matchup? I know, like, from your perspective, like, what's Chiefs Kingdom? Like, what are people there saying about this Chargers team? I know, like, 2 games for the Chiefs so far. It's been kind of close. But, like, what are folks talking about the Chargers so far?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are fascinated by the new coaching staff and the idea that, we're going to see Justin Herbert in year 2 pretty early on. And it's interesting, kind of in this reverse pattern where, Chargers fans got a very early look at Mahomes in 2018 and were reminded as to, this guy is really good. He may be a problem in the future. Obviously, the Chiefs and the Chargers were trying to, sort of take themselves up a step in the division with the Broncos sort of falling back after Peyton Manning retired. And so now for Chiefs fans, it's like, we know Justin Herbert's talented. We know the Chargers are a roster that is going to be quite competitive in this division. We think the head coach can be successful. So I think for Chiefs fans, there's a little bit of apprehension about this matchup just because you're not necessarily sure what to expect from the Chargers. The Chargers have had 2 very entertaining but different styles of games, I would say, so far. The Chiefs are a team that knows they're going to get everybody's best shot. So if Justin Herbert can make this thing a rivalry, that means the Chargers will be a legitimate threat. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am a huge fan of Derwin James. And so you want to see him sort of get back to his excellent play from 2018. But I think Chiefs fans are a little bit nervous because they've never experienced in the era of Patrick Mahomes, them having a losing record. So it would be quite a statement for the Chargers to go into Arrowhead, to pull off an upset on Sunday and to overtake the Chiefs in the division and put the Chiefs at 1 and 2. And if that happens, it would get kind of in this, weird September desperation mode for this team that obviously has Super Bowl aspirations. But I think Chiefs fans are respecting the way the Chargers are building their team in hopes to obviously take them down in the division.
Now we mentioned it earlier, 2 tight games for the Chiefs so far versus the Browns and the Ravens. The team's 1-1. The offense looks just as advertised, still humming behind Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, and company. It's crazy to me. Week 3, you then move on to Justin Herbert. So you went from the Browns offense to the Ravens offense, and now Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, and company.
Woo!
Talk about like back-to-back-to-back tests for your defense. Like how How are you even preparing for that?
Right. I mean, it's something that, I asked Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs yesterday, and it's like, hey, man, there are at least some similarities. There are some tendencies, I guess, you can match between the Browns and their two running back heavy offense and the Ravens, and that running back system is a little bit different because obviously it incorporates a superstar quarterback, Lamar Jackson. But hey, at least the team is, leaning more run than pass. Baker Mayfield is not Justin Herbert, and neither is Lamar Jackson. They are both all talented in their own way, but I think Herbert has more Mahomes to him than I think people are starting to hopefully realize, that there's an ability to extend plays, there's an ability to throw the ball into tight windows. If the Chiefs were sort of playing the Chargers on opening day, Dan, I'd give a little bit more confidence to them because, hey, they see a quarterback every day in training camp that can do similar things. But they just haven't played a strong-armed quarterback who can make 40-yard passes downfield look very ordinary so far this season. So the Chiefs secondary is a little banged up too. Travarius Ward has a quad injury. Dan Sorensen has missed a lot of tackles in the open field. Obviously, Tyrann Mathieu missed the home opener because of him being on the COVID list and then coming back slowly. So there's some the secondary is in flux, but I just think this is going to be a really nice test because Keenan Allen is someone who can really feast if given the opportunity. And I think a lot of Chiefs fans are worried about their linebacking core and their safeties, not named Tyrann Mathieu. Can they tackle Austin Eckler at a high enough level? Because we've seen in previous games, Dan, where Eckler is their biggest weapon because he can not only catch the ball out of the backfield, but he can make the first defender miss.
Yeah, there's a phrase here that I got from a buddy of mine who I went to a Bills game versus the Chargers back when it was at the soccer stadium. Keenan Allen is always open. Like wherever he is, Keenan Allen is always open. And you mentioned it, and I actually got a chance to read one of your pieces recently about some of the issues. And from an outside looking in, it appears missed tackles has plagued your defense so far this year. Like, in your opinion, what is the biggest explanation for why Chiefs defense is underperforming so far? And how do you see the team actually fixing it?
Yeah. Well, this team was always sort of built to play from let me start this over, Dan, but they were designed with Patrick Mahomes and everything sort of accentuating that rare talent that he has. This roster is built to play from ahead. Yes, they are capable of having these amazing comebacks because Mahomes and the offense is capable of having, a big play when they absolutely need it. But this defense is not designed for grinded out, back and forth, short yardage situations. This defense is at its best when it knows the opponent has to keep up with the Chiefs' offense. So their best half of football through 4 halves, Dan, was in the second half against the Cleveland Browns when the Chiefs took a lead and it made the Browns one-dimensional. And so if you're a Chargers fan, yes, you have a great quarterback in Justin Herbert, but you want to have the ability to be balanced. That's what made the Ravens game so impressive on Sunday night. They could run the ball, and Lamar was very accurate once he got those first 2 interceptions sort of out of his system in the first quarter. But this defense is at its best, in my opinion, in the secondary because Tyrann Mathieu was a 2-time All-Pro. Juan Thornhill is one of the best deep safeties in the corners, although the Chiefs do not use him in the ways that Chiefs fans want right now. So if you're a Chargers fan, you're like, hey, keep Thornhill on the sideline, keep Sorensen on the field. It's the biggest mystery on the defense. It really is. Like, their linebacking core it's got some high variance to it. Like, there are some games where Anthony Hitchens plays well. They're relying on 2 younger players in Willie Gay and Nick Bolton. A backup right now, Ben Neiman, is starting in place of Willie Gay because of a toe injury. And their 2 best defensive linemen are pass rushers in Chris Jones and Frank Clark, and they need to have 3rd and long situations to really feast. Well, you're not in 3rd and longs a lot if the team is running the ball successfully on 1st and 2nd down, and that's creating any play available in your playbook on short yardage 3rd down situations. I can't explain why Thornhill isn't on the field a ton because he is their 2nd best safety, in my opinion. He has great range. He has nice ball skills. he's a sure tackler when compared to Dan Sorensen earlier this year. But for whatever reason, the coaching staff has trusted Sorensen, who is an older player. He's more experienced. And so they've decided to go with veteran savviness, experience over youthful sort of more upside in playmaking ability from Thornhill. But look, at some point, if Dan Sorensen misses tackles on Austin Eckler on Sunday, if the Chargers can successfully pass the ball to their tight ends, I think that's a big matchup for Sunday in terms of keeping the Chiefs off balance on defense. Then the Chiefs have legitimate defensive issues. But this defense, as I mentioned before, they want to be up 10 points and they want to be aggressive and know that you're passing the football. And that sort of plays into Tyrann Mathieu's hands because he's so dynamic in the back end and sort of reading quarterback eyes or sort of, fooling quarterbacks into one thing, but then it actually being another. But hey, if you're behind all the time or if you're in these close games, that is not where the Chiefs defense is at its best, in my opinion.
Got it. Now, flipping over, you mentioned it at the top. Justin Herbert v. Patrick Mahomes. Everyone knows Pat Mahomes, number one football player in the NFL. He won the award this year, beat Aaron Donald. Lots of praise also for Justin Herbert so far, reigning rookie of the year. You mentioned kind of his arm talent, but I kind of want to just double click on just the comparison between those two players. We saw the throw that he had last year against Tampa Bay in Justin Herbert, where we said that's like a Patrick Mahomes style throw.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of fireworks that could be happening on Sunday with these two quarterbacks. What have you seen about Justin Herbert that's been maybe most impressive, or what are the most or the biggest similarities between the two, and maybe is there a difference between the two?
Yeah, there are subtle differences. I think Mahomes has a little bit of an upside just because I tend to agree with Andy Reid when he says nobody can extend the play quite like Patrick Mahomes, where
I would agree.
Even on Sunday's game where he threw a horrific interception, it is an athletic marvel and feat to know that as you're being sacked, you still have the presence of mind, the arm strength, and the body control to even attempt to pass 10 yards downfield.
I will never forget that pass in the Super Bowl where he was literally horizontal
to the field
and throws a dime in the back corner of the end zone. I'm like,
it's stunning. It really is. And so people will often say, well, there's nothing that guy can't do. But it is really applicable to Patrick Mahomes. And I feel like, look, when you look at the rest of the landscape in terms of the quarterbacks, particularly those that are young, there are some things that I like about Trey Young. There are some things, or Trey Lance, excuse me. There's some things that I like about Justin Fields, and we're obviously going to get a look at him on Sunday. Yes, Aaron Rodgers still exists, and Aaron Rodgers is primarily still excellent. Justin Herbert is really difficult to sack, and I know that I'm saying something that is difficult for Charger fans right now, given what happened against the Cowboys, because I would tend to agree that he's not down. He's he's elusive. Justin Herbert is elusive. He can operate in the pocket very well. I think, like I've mentioned before, he has an ability to extend plays. One of the things that I'm hoping Herbert takes from Mahomes is he extends the play. He gets as close to the sideline as possible. And you'll notice this. Mahomes keeps his eyes downfield and kind of waits for the defense to relax, and then he just zips it by two defenders. And usually it's to either Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill. And those receivers have obviously changed their habits when the play is sort of broken down, when it's sort of backyard football. And so I hope that Justin Herbert can sort of push that part of his game. But, man, I mean, whether it's videos I saw at training camp, whether it's obviously some of the deep throws he had last year, there's times where you say, there's only 5 guys who could make that throw, and he's one of them. And so it's going to be exciting for both of these guys to be in their prime with good coaching staffs for the foreseeable future, to where either team could be winning the division for the next 5 to 6 years, depending on obviously how the other guys sort of play surrounding them. But one of the best parts of last year, Dan, was going into week 2, there were no preseason games because of the pandemic. Tyrod Taylor, God bless him, has his injury, unfortunately.
Insane.
The Chiefs have insane. The Chiefs have no tape, Dan. 0 on Justin Herbert. And I can't remember if it was the first quarter or the second quarter, but he made a nice intermediate touchdown pass off a 2-high safety look that was actually a single high. The Chiefs tried to fool him with coverage. He saw it immediately, and it was just like, well, if he can do that without any game plan that's suited for him against an opponent that has no idea who he is, he may be really, really good. And so it's unfortunate, and I think this is the first game in the series between Mahomes and obviously Herbert where they're peers. They're playing on an even playing field now. The Chiefs know what to expect. They have actually things to prepare for. The Chargers are not playing the B team in the last week of the regular season like last year because the Chiefs had already locked up the number 1 seed. So everybody should be on the field. We all know everybody's talented. I just want to see it in person, and then this will be a service towards the rematch in LA. And I know that stadium's gorgeous. I can't wait to see it in person. But this game will be really instructive as to what will matter later in the year and how much can the Chargers really put pressure on the Chiefs in this division.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You mentioned that first game with Tyrod Taylor with the punctured lung and everything. Like, literally, Justin Herbert hadn't thrown a pass with the first team all training camp. So, like, you didn't have tape. We didn't have tape. Like, nobody knew. It's wild.
Amazing. I mean, it's Dan, if that was me, and I'm like,
I would have pissed my pants.
Yeah, they took me in the first round. What do you mean his lung got punctured? I got to go out there?
Like 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
For what? Like, huh? Like,
No, it was bizarre.
It's remarkable.
And to see him just take it in stride, have that rushing touchdown immediately right off the bat, take it wire to wire, and if only for whatever it was, 3 55-yard field goals by Butker. Like, he had the game, and he had him on the ropes, but, Mahomes came through. Look, this is going to be an exciting matchup with fans in the stands in Kansas City. I think last year there were like maybe 10,000 fans, whereas now it's going to be pretty exciting there.
Yeah, and Justin has never played in an environment quite like this, right? I mean, I know that there were no fans or limited fans last year. Chiefs fans love when reporters say this, but this is true. This is accurate. There's nothing quite like Arrowhead Stadium. I know the Chiefs played, I know the Chargers played the Washington team to start the season opener. I know there's a lot of emotion and like, thank God football's here. But man, when it's 3rd and 8 in Arrowhead and it's the second half and the fans know we got to scream our heads off. I mean, it used to drive Phillip Rivers nuts, and then Phillip Rivers sort of embraced it at the end of his career, which was a true joy. To even when he beat the Chiefs in 2018 on that Thursday night game, I was like, that was really enjoyable because Phillip Rivers was like, I've been through so many of these horror stories that I got used to the horror house. It is just like, wow, that's a really cool, little chapter in his career. So for Herbert, yes, you've played big games in college, and yes, this is in the NFL, but those fans are going to be nuts because they don't want to see their team lose, and they don't want to see the Chargers gain confidence. And so if they can get, the communication off just a little bit, if the timings, if there are false start penalties, if there's any way that the Chiefs fans feel that they can affect this young, still learning quarterback, this would be the opportunity for them to do it because, with each sort of step, you can see Herbert growing as he really gets into a groove here. And look, Keenan Allen's great. And I think Joey Bosa could have, an impact on this game if he plays. So, I mean, it's going to be a great atmosphere, but there's really nothing like Arrowhead, particularly when it's full and particularly when they know that they're never out of a game because of what Mahomes can do in a comeback situation.
It's going to be fun. I will say the one thing about Justin Herbert that we have seen is he really doesn't get too high or too low, and he seems to be pretty calm, cool, and collected. He has a little bit of the Tom Brady aura in not any type of skill or anything like that, but more just with his mindset, where he just seems very even keel the entire time. And we haven't seen him get flustered yet in his career. Now, he hasn't gone up against Chiefs in Arrowhead, so this is a great kind of test for him. But I can't wait to see those two quarterbacks go head to head. It's going to be fun. Now, we all know injuries are a part of the game. The game is just 2 days away. I think the Chargers, Joey Bosa, Chris Harris, and Justin Jones are the three guys that have not been practicing. What's the latest from an injury perspective for the Chiefs team?
Yeah, well, I try to tell fans Andy Reid is very old school. He's been a head coach for 23 years now in the NFL. And so if you don't practice on Friday, that's usually not a good indication that you'll play on Sunday. And so Frank Clark is the biggest issue right now on the injury front for the Chiefs. He made a season debut against the Baltimore Ravens. He did not have a sack, but he played better in the second half, had a tackle for a loss. He is someone that can actually make an impact on this team, I believe, particularly on 3rd and long. But he's dealing with the hamstring situation. He suffered one hamstring injury, I believe it was to his left hamstring in training camp. That healed in time for last week's game against the Ravens. But Andy Reid said on Thursday, yesterday, as we're recording this, that he tweaked his right hamstring. So one hamstring gets better. The other one, you kind of have a setback there. So he may be a game-time decision, or the Chiefs may just rule him out in terms of trying to save him for the remainder of the season and not really make the issue worse. Charvarius Ward, as I mentioned earlier, he dealt with a quad strain in practice, and so he will probably be questionable. In my opinion, the Chiefs injury report for Friday has yet to come out as we're recording this. But everyone else should be relatively healthy. I think, for the Chiefs, most notably, they don't have any issues on offense. And so that has led them to score, in the 30s the last 2 weeks. But they're going to need just about anyone and everyone on defense. And so if you don't have, Frank Clark, if you don't have Charvarius Ward, who's played 97% of the snaps so far this season, that could put a monkey wrench into Steve Spagnuolo's plans. And most notably, I feel like the Chiefs know that they're not necessarily trying to be as much healthy for September as they want to be really, really healthy in January. And so this may actually benefit the Chargers where, hey, let's save a few guys now, but that may be to the Chargers' benefit if they're looking, big picture, looking down to December, January, and what they hope will be early February.
Got it. Now let's get into kind of the nitty gritty of this game, this matchup. So the Chiefs have gotten a little bit beat up the past few Super Bowls, especially on defense, the offense as well. Coming off a loss to the Ravens, you covered this team for a bit. Is there a formula or maybe trend you're seeing for how teams are starting to kind of scheme up to go up against the Chiefs? What's the formula to beat this team?
Oh, it's a great question, Dan, and I'm so glad you asked it because I'm starting to give away secrets, and I think some Chiefs fans are like, this is really good reporting, but stop doing this, Nate.
You're doing too good.
Okay, so one of the most recent stories I wrote in The Athletic was sort of tied into this, but there are 5 things any worthy contending team needs to do against the Chiefs. The first thing is you must score 30 points. If you look at any of the Chiefs' losses, most notably, the opposing offense has had a great performance. So obviously the Ravens scored 36 on Sunday. The Buccaneers scored 31, I believe, on Super Bowl Sunday earlier this year. You need to score 30 points. You must come off the bus thinking we have to score 30. I think secondly, don't be an idiot and don't blitz Patrick Mahomes.
Thank you.
As I've written, and I went through some statistical data on this most recently. In the last 3 games the Chiefs have lost with Mahomes as their starter, Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, and then late in October against the Las Vegas Raiders in one of the surprising upsets last season, all of those teams blitzed Mahomes 5 snaps or less. So don't blitz him. It's terrible. It's a horrific idea. I'm going to pull the stats really quick here, Dan, to sort of drive my point here.
It's funny you mentioned this. Is literally like an hour and a half ago. I tweeted out like, please, dear Chargers, dear Brandon Staley, do not blitz. Do not blitz, please.
Do not do it. So here we are, Dan. Against the blitz last season, Mahomes on 134 dropbacks completed 69% of his passes, throwing for 1,145 yards, 16 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he was only sacked 4 times. Okay,
16 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. God,
and only sacked 4 times. So hey, part of the blitz is, well, can we at least get to the quarterback? Well, the answer is no. Don't do that. So that's number 2. You need to score 30. You don't need to blitz Mahomes. And Lord willing, you need to get turnovers. That's sort of my third thing in this 5-step formula. The Chiefs had 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter against the Ravens, a interception by Mahomes and a game-altering fumble from Clyde Edwards-Helaire on their final drive. The Chargers will need to get 1 or 2 turnovers to steal a possession, in essence, from the Chiefs' offense. The Chiefs are going to have some things in this game plan that the Chargers probably haven't seen yet this season. Andy Reid's very good about having multiple game plans for the first 5 or 6 weeks so that they always show some new wrinkle, some new tendency. So to counteract that, I would teach my defenders to look to punch the ball out. Mahomes doesn't throw many interceptions, but when he does give you that 1 or 2 opportunities, you need to take advantage of it. And so what the Buccaneers did last year, similar to the Ravens where they got 2 turnovers in the second half as the Chiefs attempted to make a valiant comeback. The fourth thing to me is, and everybody knows this, but I put it sort of less on my 5-step formula, is it would be nice if you ran the ball, but specifically you need to run the ball well in the red zone. And the Chiefs have the worst red zone defense right now. And so the Chiefs are always comfortable with giving up yards between the 20s. Hey, you want to get a 30-yard run between the 20 up to the 50? That's fine. The Chiefs defense is sort of built to be like, can you not score 6 points? Like, we would love to trade touchdowns for field goals. That's all we do. That's what we love to do. But what the Browns did on the home opener and what the Ravens really exploited was when they got in the red zone, they were comfortable running the ball on all 3 downs. And so if you know that the Chiefs' weakness on defense is their running or their ability to stop the run, continue to be patient, continue to be methodical. Obviously, it helps you run a little bit of clock, so it gives Mahomes less time. But you need to be most effective running the football, and I think the best way to do that is in the red zone, scoring touchdowns by running the ball so that you're not kicking field goals, and all of a sudden the game is 21-9 versus it being 21-21 if you're in a shootout. And then the fifth thing is, and I hope fans understand this, Dan, you need to pray for chaos. Utter chaos. The only reason the Chiefs lost the game, despite giving up about 1 billion rushing yards, despite Lamar Jackson being incredible in the second half, they only won the game by 1 point. Like, think about that. The Ravens could not play a better half of football in the second half, and they only won the game by 1 point. And you need chaos, such as Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbling for the first time in his NFL career. The Tennessee Titans beat the Chiefs in 2019. They were the last opponent to beat them before they went on their Super Bowl run. And the only reason why they beat them was because they blocked in a field goal to not force overtime against Harrison Butker. And the Chiefs had to botch a field goal attempt that would have put them up 9. Instead, they do not get the field goal off successfully. It was a sort of snap to holder situation that sort of discombobulated the situation. The Titans go on. They get a deep touchdown drive. It's one of the best drives Ryan Tannehill has ever had in a game-winning situation. And then the Chiefs go right down the field, because that's what Mahomes does, sets up the game-winning or the game-tying field goal to force overtime, and the Titans block the kick. So again, Charger fans,
chaos.
You're going to need chaos and or luck, something that you can't foresee, something you would never plan, but ultimately, like the Super Bowl, hey, what if the Chiefs didn't have any of their starting offensive linemen? That's the chaos that helped the Buccaneers win that game. You're going to
might be gone.
Yeah, you just need something that you're like, well, if this was against any other opponent, we win by 10 points easily. But we kind of needed this just to get past the Chiefs. And so don't blitz Mahomes, score 30, get some turnovers, run effectively in the red zone, and pray that something so chaotic happens that it sort of throws the Chiefs off and gives you an added advantage.
You heard it here first. Nate Taylor giving us the answers to the test. All you got to do is all of those things to have a chance and a prayer. And I will say on that note, Chargers fans feel very similarly. This past game against the Cowboys, we had so many issues with penalties and not executing, and just so many things went wrong. And you mentioned the chaos. Yet the Chargers still lost by a 56-yard field goal, held Dallas to 17 points other than that. Like, you would take that. And so it's funny how you just have to take advantage of those opportunities when chaos erupts. And unfortunately, Chargers haven't done that, haven't had the best of luck. They're going to need it if they're going to have a chance this Sunday. We've talked about, and we're going to get into some of the player matchups for a sec. One of the things that I actually am really excited about seeing, Nate, is the kind of the comparison between and the matchup between these two coaches. You have kind of an offensive juggernaut in Andy Reid. You've got Brandon Staley and like this defensive guru. How do you see kind of the Chiefs preparing for this new Chargers team with the new staff? Like, do you see it being any different than in years past for these two teams?
I think there can be a few differences. Most notably, the Chargers are going to, I assume, and agree with you, Dan. Don't blitz Mahomes first. So, how much can they keep Clyde Edwards-Helaire under wraps? I think Edwards-Helaire is going to matter in this game because if the Chargers secondary is as good as I believe it is, they're going to double team Tyreek Hill, so he'll have less opportunities of success. Derwin James has a chance to really cover Travis Kelce, in my opinion, super effectively. And so that takes away, your two best options. You're going to need to rely on guys like maybe McCole Hartman, Byron Pringle. These are young receivers that are known for their speed, but they don't have a ton of production over the course of their careers just yet. And then can Andy Reid sort of use the screen game for Edwards-Helaire? Everybody knows Andy Reid loves running screen plays, whether it's for the tight end or the running back. They have not run many screen passes yet this season, Dan, for Edwards-Helaire or Jarrett McKinnon, another running back. Could that be an option here? But I do think the Chargers have a chance of giving some pre-snap looks to Mahomes that may be something completely different when the ball snapped, just because this will be his first time really playing this defensive scheme with these collection of players. And I hope that there are some tendency breakers that whatever the Chargers have shown in the first 2 weeks will be different against Mahomes, because it'll make it more intriguing, right? It may make Mahomes have to make difficult decisions, or he'll have to extend plays and sort of see if he can get an advantage that way. But I do feel like the Chargers linebackers need to be really, really effective. They need to win on first down. And even though it's 3rd and 12, don't do it. Don't blitz Mahomes. Just
please don't.
Just don't. Like if this was, if this was Teddy Bridgewater, fine. Do your thing. But come on. Don't do it.
I'm with you. I'll have my fingers crossed all weekend that we do not blitz on Sunday, because you mentioned it, 16 touchdowns, 0 interceptions last year, and 4 sacks out of 100 and something dropbacks. No, thank you.
Yep.
No, thank you. So, okay, you mentioned a little bit earlier the Chiefs struggling in red zone defense. Now, one of the things the Chargers conveniently also struggle with is red zone offense. And so, I think it's 30% of the time the Chargers are in the red zone only add up a touchdown. So just 3 out of 10, I believe.
Yes.
And I believe on the defensive side for the Chiefs, all 8 of the times they were in the red zone gave up touchdowns. Is that correct?
You can't be worse, Dan. You literally can't get – you can only get better from here. Now, if you're the Chargers, you're like, well, can you stay consistent for one more week?
Yes, exactly. That's my question. Of the two kind of trends, which one do you think has the more likelihood of being broken? The Chargers' inefficiency on offense or the Chiefs' inefficiency on defense in the red zone?
I would give the advantage to the Chargers, just because I don't think any of these touchdowns that the Chiefs have given up have been very difficult for the opposing team, that being the Browns and the Ravens. Part of red zone offense is either creativity or executing very quickly because you're just working in such a limited amount of space. So this is a situation where I feel like the Chargers should they should probably lean a little bit more on Keenan Allen because he is such a good route runner, because he does have a large frame. He is a big target. He's sure-handed. He doesn't, I don't really see many plays of Keenan Allen dropping the ball in the end zone. And I just think the Chiefs defense will take weeks, if not months, to get better. I don't anticipate us coming out of Sunday's game, Dan, and being like, wow, the Chiefs held the Chargers to 10 points. Like, I don't see that happening. I see the Chiefs trying to win a game that's like 31-27 or 34-31 or something like that. So I would give the advantage to the Chargers. Part of it is, of course, what happened with the Cowboys game, and I don't want to bring up too much of this, but the Cowboys don't have a great defense either, and so you can use that game as a lesson for your advantage this Sunday. And if they just are a little bit better in executing a few things, if the blocking holds up just a half second longer, the Chargers should have some success in the red zone.
You would think. I don't think it could be any worse. I was actually at the game live at SoFi, and some just like the back-breaking penalties and things that were going against them, and some of the calls were kind of crazy. But head coach Brandon Staley said it best. Like, it's on us. And as much as the penalties, as much as like the calls, officiating was questionable, like there were so many things the Chargers could have done to help themselves, and they just didn't. Couple questions here, wrapping up with Nate Taylor. Nate, this has been fantastic. I can't believe you got the keys to success already. and the answers to the test, this is great. You mentioned Derwin James. You mentioned all of kind of the matchups that are out there. There's going to be superstars all over the field. And I think this is one of the most anticipated games. I think Tony Romo and Jim Nantz are calling the game.
Yep.
In your opinion, like, what are some of the main player matchups you're looking forward to most? And then maybe which one do you see as kind of being the biggest impact on the outcome of the game?
If Derwin James doesn't follow Travis Kelce like he's his shadow, I would question a lot of what Staley and his coaching staff are doing. Okay. I've said this a few times, but I've covered this team since Mahomes became the starter. So therefore, when it's 3rd and 7, I don't really look at the ball. I don't really look at the offensive line. I know that Patrick is looking for Kelce. And so I want Chargers fans to like think about that. Like, when Mahomes needs to make a completion, he's usually looking to Kelce. Yes, there are some plays where they scheme things up for Tyreek Hill to run deeper routes, but so much of this offense, the baseline of it, the foundation is the connection between Mahomes and Kelce. So if Derwin James or a connection or a couple of those guys for the Chargers can really stifle that or make Mahomes have to go elsewhere, I think that will be massive for the Chargers. I get the sense that if Justin Herbert is wise, I would get to my progressions pretty early because Tyrann Mathieu is one of the best safeties at reading a quarterback's eyes. And he already has 2 interceptions this year against Lamar Jackson. He fooled Lamar on one that was just like, wow, that is – I feel bad for Lamar. Like, it's one of those things where, like, you see him throw the ball and you're like, no. And so if you don't want any Charger plays to be like, wow, we thought Tyrann was going to do this or he gave us this look. There might be some times where he's playing the slot and he's one of these amazing players similar to Ed Reed or Troy Polamalu where it really doesn't matter where he lines up. He's not going to finish the play usually in that same spot or usually in that same assignment. So those are my 2 matchups. Can Derwin James, be a superhuman defender against Travis Kelce because I've seen him do it before, and I know that's a lot to ask of him right now. But if you want to win, that would go a long way in your success. And Justin Herbert, don't throw the ball anywhere near Tyrann Mathieu. Just don't do it. Even if you think he might be there, put the ball down, get a few yards, scramble, extend the play. But it's really not wise to try to test Tyrann Mathieu because he's one of the better safeties in the league.
Now, one more question before we get into any bold predictions or predictions in general for the matchup on Sunday. I was thinking about this as we were talking about it, and the amount of talent on this team on both teams is pretty remarkable. If you were to stack rank, let's say top 5 players on the field,
Whoo!
What would be your top 5, 1 to 5?
So 1 is Patrick. Sorry, Charger fans.
No, you're right.
This is just the reality that we live in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna give some seniority to Travis Kelce. The man's a Hall of Famer. He's better than Tony Gonzalez ever was. He's better than Antonio Gates ever was. That is saying a lot. But he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's the only tight end in NFL history to have 5 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. He had the most receiving yards in NFL history in a single season last year as a tight end. And he only played 15 games because they already locked up the 1 seed by week 17. So I would say Mahomes 1, Kelce 2, which is why this matchup between him and potentially Derwin James is so fun for me and so fascinating. I would say 3rd is probably Joey Bosa, and I want him to play. Can he please play, Dan? He's so good at football.
I want him to play.
He's amazing. I would say 4th is Tyreek Hill. It's an unfair advantage. The Chiefs have somehow found a way to match up the fastest player in the league with the guy with the strongest, most accurate arm. It's unfair. And then I would put 5 to be Justin Herbert because I just trust him. I believe a lot in his abilities. Quietly, Charger fans, take solace in this. He will probably be better than Trey Lance. He will probably be better. He will probably be better than Mac Jones. He will probably be better than I don't care. That poor kid in New York right now. I don't even want to say his name. But anyway, there are a lot of rookie quarterbacks that are getting a lot of publicity. Justin Herbert's probably better than all of them. If he really develops and progresses the way he should, he's probably better than all of them. And that is saying something.
And you could argue he might be better than all quarterbacks coming out of the draft the last 2 years. The only one potentially could be Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
And Tua has had some unfortunate injuries, but I think the Dolphins would want to do that one over, and we're not even through the first half of year 2.
You should see Dolphins fans in the threads of Chargers Twitter. It's ruthless.
Yeah,
how much they deep down inside they wish they went back and changed their pick for sure.
Yes, the way the Dolphins feel about the Chargers is the way the Buffalo Bills felt about the Chiefs, because they obviously were the team that executed the trade to get the Chiefs up to the number 10th pick to select Mahomes, and then the Bills were like, "Oh, we got to get a quarterback." And look, they've got a really good one in Josh Allen. I think, who do I trust? And this is saying,
but
something.
He's not Patrick Mahomes.
He's not Patrick Mahomes, but I'm just saying, if I ranked the quarterbacks in the AFC specifically, because that's the path to the Super Bowl for these teams. I trust Mahomes. I trust Josh Allen. I trust Lamar Jackson. And I trust Justin Herbert. And that's about it. Carson Wentz has some high moments, but he also gets hurt a lot. I don't know why he's playing on Sunday, but he's going to really gut it out. I know that Joe Burrow is great. Or very good, I should say. I know that Ben Roethlisberger is a Hall of Famer, but we're obviously in the twilight of his career. Shout out to Derek Carr, playing very well. Teddy Bridgewater, not turning the ball over, ladies and gentlemen. That you can win games doing that in this league.
With that defense, definitely.
Yes, and when it comes to January, I just feel like your quarterback needs to be above average, a person who can really rise to the occasion, can make his teammates better, and not be afraid of the moment. And so we have yet to see Justin Herbert in a playoff setting, but I want to see that at some point this year, whether they obviously overtake the Chiefs for the division, whether they're a wild card team. But there's not many. Baker Mayfield is fine. He's fine, but I think Justin Herbert has a chance to be better than him. And so I would say this will be tight, right? For the pass of both Mahomes and Herbert, who is players 3, 4, and 5, as you mentioned, Dan, that may change over the course of time, and maybe the advantage will be for the Chargers here in the near future, or maybe Kelsey and Hill are just so dynamic that they'll be one of the best NFL trios in league history because of their consistency, dominance, obviously top-end talent. But I trust that Justin Herbert and this coaching staff have the ability to get to the playoffs this year, and I want to see what that looks like for that team, because we saw what it did for Josh Allen. He was not very good in his first playoff game, but they got to the AFC Championship game. There's a process to all of this.
Yeah.
And so I have no fear in saying that the Chargers appear to be headed towards the Chiefs' direction, and the Chiefs will try to hold them off as much as they possibly can.
Now, we're finally at the moment. We have 2 days left, 10 o'clock game, prime time, with prime folks calling the game. Nate Taylor, what are your either bold predictions or game predictions? Could be anything.
Yeah, I've said Chiefs 31, Chargers 27. We'll see if that holds. I won't be surprised with any outcome, quite frank. I mean, unless it was like 10-9 on either side. But I won't be. That's not happening. I'll be surprised if the Chargers. I won't be surprised, I should say, if the Chargers win. I think my bold prediction is, Austin Eckler may have a day that Charger fans will remember. He's always kind of been a bit of an issue for the Chiefs in his career. They didn't use him a ton in the first matchup last year because the game was just. I mean, again, the whole play sheet changed because the quarterback. I just want to give the Chargers a pass. But look, Phillip Rivers would use Austin Eckler in a way that would just drive Chiefs fans nuts, and it's understandable because he's really talented in the open field. So if you want to make things easy for Justin Herbert in this loud environment, in a game that is probably going to be close in the fourth quarter, who can come alongside Herbert? I really think it could be Austin Eckler, because the Chiefs, again, are more built for a passing attack, trying to defend it. At least they have Tyrann Mathieu. But if Austin Eckler can make a defense that has already had issues tackling, if he can make them miss more tackles, that does not bode well for the Chiefs. It bodes very well for the Chargers. But it can't just be Justin alone. It has to be Justin and some of his other skill position players coming alongside him. So I'll say this could be a game where Austin Eckler, you may win a fantasy matchup or lose a fantasy matchup, because Austin Eckler could have a very, very good day.
Have a day, Austin Eckler. Have a day, Nate Taylor. Nate Taylor from The Athletic. He is the writer and reporter for The Athletic, the Peter Parker of the Kansas City Chiefs, one could say. Nate, thank you so much for joining us. We've learned a ton from you. Best of luck to you on Sunday. Are you going to be at the game?
Yes, sir. I will be at the game, and I will be reporting live, and yeah, we'll just see. I want this to be the new rivalry, right? I mean, I don't know everyone here cares about Chiefs Raiders. That makes sense from the old AFL days and both of their excellence in the 70s and 60s. But I think this should be the new rivalry, just because, again, of the quarterbacks, the coaching staffs. But yeah, I'll be there. I'll be watching. And again, I won't be surprised if the Chargers win, because, at some point, I think the Chargers will be a real challenge for the Chiefs.
Guys, give Nate Taylor a follow on Twitter. Again, @ByNateTaylor. He's a great, great follow, and also keeps it real. He's not afraid to tell you like it is, and will tell you how to beat his team, even if he doesn't want to see it happen. Nate, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Thanks for coming on Chargers Unleashed. Don't be a stranger. You're a friend of the show. Welcome anytime, all right?
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Maybe, late November when they play this thing again?
I'll be at SoFi. We'll see you there.
Yeah, it'll be a great time. But thank you for having me on, and I hope I've enlightened Charger fans, and I hope that they're, if it's in the third quarter and they start looking around, we haven't gotten a turnover yet. Hey, just these are the 5 things, folks.
Chaos
turnovers. Get chaos. Stop. Again, I don't want to anger Chargers fans, but if I see them blitz Mahomes and bad things happen, I've told you guys with Dan, I told you all, don't do this. So
you heard it here first.
You heard it here first. But thank you so much, Dan.
All right, Nate. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Don't be a stranger. Talk to you later.
All right. Take care.